Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I started years ago, I needed a platform to help me distribute my work, and I discovered Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And what I found most helpful is that Anchor is 100% free and super easy to use. And not only that, Anchor matches you with great sponsors who want to advertise with your podcast. And that means that you can get paid to do what you love, and that is to record your thoughts. If you want to get started, go ahead and go to anchor.fm/start. Again, that's anchor.fm/start. And join me and other podcasters as we use Anchor to get our thoughts out into the world. Hey everyone, this is the Dr. William Clark podcast. I'm your host, Dr. William Clark, and glad to be with you again for another podcast. Wanted to just quickly come on. I'm often having conversations with students and customers who are trying to figure out the best ways to fundraise and the best ways to generate grant revenue. And oftentimes people, they want to hear messages and ideas about how to put pen to paper, how to say the right thing, what's going to attract funders, what's the hot topic or hot investment area for funders. And I think there is a lot of relevance to that inquiry that people have, right? You do want to know how to write the perfect grant, the right grant. You do want to know what to say, what funders are looking for. And I think there's a lot to say, and I cover a lot of that in this podcast show. And I'll continue to cover topics like that going forward. But one of the things I think that gets overlooked from the nonprofit perspective is the work that goes into the development of a grant application. Oftentimes, it is less about what you write down. It is less about the words you put on paper. It's less about the concept you eventually propose. And it's more about the process you go through to draft a actual application, right? It is the process with which you develop ideas, you develop concepts that should be based upon the work and the mission of the organization. You shouldn't be proposing things, you shouldn't be proposing ideas that are not mission relevant. In fact, you should be proposing ideas that are so mission relevant that when people read your proposal, all they can say is, you know what, that sounds just like them. You don't want funders reading your work and reading the effort you put into a grant app and saying that doesn't even make sense, that doesn't sound like this particular provider. You want to always put yourself in position to propose things that makes mission sense to you and for you, right? It is all about the process. Now, in terms of the process, I often teach that every process or every actual grant application that gets put in should follow a grant writing process. And idealistically, you should write out an action plan that governs the drafting of every grant application. Now, if you're strategic and really savvy, one of the ways to circumvent that is to develop a singular, comprehensive action plan one time for the most detailed, time-consuming grant you can think of. When you put together something for a complicated grant, then you can easily apply it to the projects that are not as complicated or not as involved, right? So that's one particular strategy. Here's the other reason why you do this. If you do it once and you do it really, really good, then all you have to do is replicate that particular plan and take out pieces that may not be relevant to a much smaller, much easier grant application that you're going to complete. The other thing that I've found to be super successful is the development of writing sessions. Writing sessions are clumps of time that you set aside to actually write the grant with team members that have to contribute to the grant itself. And so I've done this on several occasions because what I've noticed is that when we go back and forth over email or phone calls and it's unscheduled time that we're utilizing to try to convey information to each other, it oftentimes seems unproductive. And in the past, and even today, as I work with clients and team members, writing sessions continue to be a fruitful and useful strategy that I use to draft a grant application. In a writing session, we're all in the same room or we're on a video conference call We've scheduled this time to only do this particular thing. We're focused on this topic. We're responding to the questions and the queries of the funder. We are thinking deeply and intentionally and strategically about each question. And we're also drawing upon the experiences that we've had together and creating previous grant apps and running other programs to inform our thinking for this program. The goal with that is to make sure that we propose ideas that deeply align with the work that we're doing now so that we can leverage resources, whether it's funding, whether it's staff, whether it's expenses, whether it's supplies, whether it's partners, etc., so that the funder that we're bringing on board with this particular application we're submitting gets the best we have to offer, whether the grant is $2,500 or whether the grant is $250,000. We endeavor to give our very best to every funder. In order to do that, it's all about the way we come up with the concepts. The writing sessions allows us in one or several meetings, however it works out, but at least as a group, to write out together what we believe is the best concept. There are times where we agree to what we should say for this particular answer. There are times we don't agree, but when we don't agree, this is where the fun begins, because now we have competing ideas from knowledgeable, invested teammates who are going to present their competing ideas. And guess what? The best idea wins. My ideal situation is not the best idea wins, but the best of each idea gets combined to create a even better idea. And this is where our innovation and our creativity raises to a whole other level, because now we can take pieces of your idea, pieces of your idea, pieces of your idea, and pieces of that idea, and come together to create something so new, so different, so innovative that it's pushing the ball forward for our customers, for us, for our potential new investor. And even if this potential investor doesn't like the idea or we don't get it funded, if it's good enough, we're going to propose it to someone else who may buy into it and say, I want that idea and I'm going to invest thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into this concept. And so it's all about the process. And I want you to think about that more than anything else as it relates to grant writing, as it relates to fundraising. Enjoy the process. You hear a lot about this from the great athletes that we admire. It's not about hoisting the championship trophy. It's about enjoying the process, the workout, the grinds, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the pain, the suffering, the injuries, the healing, the rehab. The process, the journey is what they talk more about than anything else. And coming from that view of it, I enjoy the process. And this is what I teach. This is what I teach on this podcast. This is what I teach in the Grant Writing 101 Masterclass. This is what I do. And this is what I espouse. And I encourage you to embrace the process as you seek to improve your grant writing. With that being said, I do want to take a moment before we close this podcast to introduce the Grant Writing 101 Masterclass to you. Have you ever wondered how large nonprofits consistently generate millions of dollars? I know I have over the years. And have you ever wondered how to write the perfect grant, or how to successfully manage a grant, or even how to find money beyond grants? If that's not you, that was me several years ago. I am Dr. William Clark. I am the instructor and the creator of the Grant Writing 101 Masterclass. This particular masterclass is over 11 hours of training, and it comes with tools, tips, and tricks on how to generate significant money for your nonprofit. Some of my students have been fortunate enough to build six-figure programs, and others have been fortunate enough to triple their fundraising results. Whatever your goals are regarding your fundraising for your grant writing or your fundraising, the Grant Writing 101 Masterclass can help you achieve just that. If you want to register and be a part of this online learning community, simply go to mysixfigurefunding.teachable.com, and you'll be taken immediately into our student access portal where you can access all of our trainings, all of our tools, all of our tips, all of our tricks, everything we have to offer. You can take the training on demand at your own pace and at any time. You can go fast, you can go slow, you can fast forward, you can rewind, whatever you got to do to learn. You are able to do that. You can even interact with other students and me all online from the comfort of your home and your office. If you want to secure your seat today, simply go to mysixfigurefunding.teachable.com. Again, that's mysixfigurefunding.teachable.com. And I'm looking forward to learning with you and growing with you as you achieve the fundraising results that you're looking for your nonprofit. This is the Dr. William Clark Podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.